Respected, there is a moment, and I need you to hear me on this. There is a moment that comes for every single person on this earth. A moment when your body is saying stop, your mind is saying quit, and everything around you is telling you that you've done enough. That moment is not the end. That moment is where your real life begins. Let me talk to you today about something that nobody wants to admit. Nobody wants to stand up in front of the world and say, I am tired. Because we live in a culture that tells you tired is weakness. We live in a world that says if you're exhausted, if you're worn down, if you can barely lift your head off the pillow in the morning, then maybe you just don't want it bad enough. And I am here today to tell you that is one of the greatest lies ever told to a human being. Because let me tell you something about tired people. Let me tell you what I've learned from watching people who had nothing, no money, no connections, no safety net, no backup plan, people who were running on empty, people whose tanks were bone dry and yet they still showed up. They still did the work. They still became something extraordinary. Those are not superhuman people. Those are not people with some special gene that the rest of us don't have. Those are people who understood something secret, something powerful, something that changed everything the moment they discovered it. And I want to share that secret with you today. But first, I need you to understand where tired really comes from. Because most people think tired is a physical thing. They think tired means your legs hurt, your back aches, your eyes are heavy. And yes, sometimes that's true. But the kind of tired I'm talking about, the kind of tired that makes people quit, the kind of tired that destroys dreams, the kind of tired that has people sleeping on potential they were supposed to share with the world, that kind of tired is not in your muscles. That kind of tired lives in your mind. It lives in your story. See, I grew up in a situation where tired was the default setting. My family didn't have much. And when you grow up watching people you love struggle, when you grow up seeing the bills pile up, when you grow up understanding from a very young age that life is not handing you anything for free, you get tired just from the weight of watching. You get tired before you even start. And I carried that tired with me for years. I carried it into bad decisions. I carried it into moments where I should have pushed forward, but instead I stepped back. I carried it into a version of myself that I am not proud of. But here's what I learned. Here's what life, painful, beautiful, relentless life taught me. Tired is not a stop sign. Tired is a signal. And once you understand the difference between a stop sign and a signal, everything changes. A stop sign means halt. It means you are done. It means there is nothing more for you in this direction. But a signal is information. A signal is your body and your mind communicating with you saying, hey, pay attention. Something needs to change. Something needs to shift. You are growing, and growth is uncomfortable. And that discomfort is showing up as exhaustion. That's what tired really is. It is the feeling of expansion. It is the sensation of becoming more than you were yesterday. Think about a muscle. When you go to the gym, and I want you to really picture this, when you lift that weight, when you push through that last rep, when your arms are shaking and your legs are burning and the fiber of your being is screaming at you to put it down, what is actually happening in that moment? The muscle is tearing. It is literally breaking apart at a microscopic level. And most people, if they didn't know better, would say, that's damage, that's destruction, I need to stop. But every person who has ever built a strong body knows the truth. That breaking is building. That pain is progress. That exhaustion is the raw material of strength. Your life works the same way. Every time you feel tired, truly tired, deeply tired, the kind of tired that makes you wonder if you can keep going, you are in the gym of your destiny. You are at the moment where the muscle of your character is either going to tear and rebuild into something stronger, or it's going to give up and stay exactly the same size it's always been. And the people who understand this, the people who lean into that discomfort instead of running from it, those are the people who build lives that other people look at and say, how did they do that? How did they get there? What is their secret? And I'll tell you their secret. Their secret is that they kept going when they were tired. That's it. That is the thing. It sounds simple because it is simple, but simple does not mean easy. And the difference between simple and easy is where most people's dreams go to die. Now, I want to tell you about a period in my life that I don't talk about enough. A period where I was not Steve Harvey, the television host. I was not Steve Harvey, the best-selling author. I was not Steve Harvey, the man with the suits and the show and the platform. I was a man sleeping in his car. I was a man who had lost everything. I was a man who would find a gas station bathroom in the morning, clean himself up, put on the best face he could, and then walk out into the world pretending that he had it together when on the inside he was shattered. And every single morning, I was tired. I was tired of the struggle. I was tired of the disappointment. I was tired of making promises to myself and watching them crumble. I was tired of calling family members who didn't want to hear from me anymore because I had let them down too many times. I was tired of looking at my own reflection and not recognizing the man staring back at me. That is a special kind of tired. That is a soul tired. And if you have EV, I've been soul tired, you know exactly what I'm describing. But here is what I did not do. I did not quit. And it was not because I was strong. I want to be very clear about that. It was not because I was some exceptional human being with extraordinary willpower. I kept going because of one thing and one thing only. I had a vision. I had a picture in my mind of who I was supposed to become. And even on the worst nights, even when the car was cold and the future looked dark and I could not see a single reason to believe things would get better, that vision, that picture, would not leave me alone. It whispered to me. It said, "Not yet. You are not finished yet." And I want to ask you right now, wherever you are watching this, do you have that vision? Do you have that picture? Because if you do, then tired cannot stop you. Tired can slow you down. Tired can make the road harder, but it cannot stop you when you have a vision that is bigger than your exhaustion. The problem is that most people, when they get tired, they stop looking at the vision. They look at the obstacle instead. They take their eyes off the destination and they focus on the distance. And the moment you do that, the moment you trade the vision for the view, you lose your momentum. You lose your why. And a person without a why cannot survive the how. The how is too hard. The how is too long. The how is too painful when there's no why attached to it. So before we go any further, I need you to do something. I need you to reconnect with your why, not the surface level why. Not I want to make more money or I want a bigger house. I'm talking about the deep why. The why that makes you cry when you think about it. The why that wakes you up at 3 in the morning. The why that has nothing to do with impressing other people and everything to do with the person you know deep in your bones you were put on this earth to be. Because when your why is deep enough, when it is rooted enough, when it is connected to something real inside of you, tired becomes manageable. Tired becomes a visitor instead of a resident. It comes. You acknowledge it. You honor it because it means you've been working, and then you make a decision. You make the most powerful decision a human being can make. You decide to keep going anyway. That decision right there, that is the secret. That is the beginning. The ning of the secret. And as we go through this journey together today, I'm going to unpack it for you layer by layer because there's more to it. There's so much more. And I believe that by the time we are done, you are going to look at tired differently. You are going to feel it differently. And most importantly, you are going to respond to it differently because the world needs what you have. The world is waiting for what you carry. And tired is just the price of admission for the life you were born to live. Don't you dare stop now. Let me tell you something that took me a long time to understand. And when I say a long time, I mean years. I mean painful, humbling, gut-wrenching years of getting it wrong before I finally got it right. And the thing I had to learn, the thing that changed the entire trajectory of my life is this. Motivation is a guest, but discipline is family. Read that again in your mind. Motivation is a guest. Discipline is family. See, we live in a world right now that is absolutely obsessed with motivation. People are out here chasing feelings. They want to feel inspired before they start. They want to feel ready before they move. They want to feel the confident before they step out. And I understand that. I do. Because feelings are real. Emotions are real. The desire to feel good before you do something hard, that is one of the most human things there is. But here is the brutal truth that most motivational content will never tell you. You cannot wait to feel like it. Because that feeling, that fired up, ready to conquer the world, nothing can stop me feeling it comes and it goes. It is not reliable. It is not consistent. And you cannot build a life on something that is not consistent. Discipline, on the other hand, discipline does not care how you feel. Discipline shows up in the rain. Discipline shows up when you're sick. Discipline shows up when you just got bad news, when your heart is broken, when the money isn't there, when the people you counted on let you down. Discipline says, none of that matters right now. We have work to do. And I know what some of you are thinking. You're thinking, Steve, that sounds cold. That sounds robotic. That sounds robotic. That sounds like you're asking me to be a machine. And I hear you. But let me reframe it for you, because discipline, true discipline, is actually one of the most loving things you can do. Do for yourself. Think about a parent. Think about a mother or a father who, as a child, they love more than anything in the world. That parent, on their worst day, on the day when they are exhausted, when they are grieving, when they are overwhelmed, they still get up. they still feed that child. They still show up for that child. Not because they feel like it, not because the motivation hit them at 6 in the morning, but because they love something greater than their own comfort. Their discipline is an act of love. Your dreams deserve that same love. Your potential deserves that same commitment. The version of you that is waiting on the other side of your consistency, that person deserves for you to show up even when every part of you wants to stay in bed. Now, I want to talk about something specific. I want to talk about the morning, because I believe, and I have believed this for as long as I can remember, I believe that the morning is sacred. I believe that the first hour of your day is a battlefield, and whoever wins that battle sets the tone for everything that comes after it. And most people are losing that battle before they even know it started. E is what most people do in the morning. The alarm goes off and they hit snooze. And I am not here to shame anyone for hitting snooze, because Lord knows I have been there. But I want you to understand what that snooze button represents. That snooze button is not just about sleep. That snooze button is a negotiation. It is you in the first moments of consciousness making a deal with comfort over commitment. It is your present self overruling your future self. And every time you make that deal, you are teaching your brain a lesson. You are teaching it that how you feel in the moment is more important than what you said you wanted when you were thinking clearly. And that lesson compounds. That lesson spreads. Because the same part of you that hits snooze on the alarm is the same part that hits snooze on the phone call you need to make. It is the same part that hits snooze on the difficult conversation you've been avoiding. It is the same part that hits snooze on the dream that's been sitting in your heart for years, waiting for you to act on it. But here is the flip side. When you win the morning, when you make the decision to get up, to move, to start before you feel ready, you are teaching your brain the opposite lesson. You are teaching it that you are someone who follows through. You are teaching it that your commitments mean something. You are teaching it that even when it is hard, even when it is uncomfortable, you are the kind of person who does what needs to be done. And that lesson also compounds. I want to tell you about a man I know. A man who worked 2 jobs for 11 years. 2 jobs. One started at 5 in the morning and ended at 2 in the afternoon. The other started at 3 and ended at 11 at night. This man had children. He had a wife. He had a mortgage that felt like a boulder on his chest every single month. He was tired in a way that I genuinely believe most people will never understand unless they have lived it. The kind of tired where you sit down for 1 minute and you are asleep before you realize it happened. The kind of tired where your days blur together and you lose track of what month it is. And people around him, people who cared about him, would say, you need to rest, you need to slow down, you cannot keep going at this pace. And he would smile and nod and then go back to work. Not because he was stubborn, not because AWS he didn't believe him, but because he had done the math. He had looked at where he was and where he needed to be, and he had calculated that the only currency he had enough of, the only resource that was fully in his control, was time and effort. And he was going to spend every bit of both. That man put his kids through college. That man paid off his house. That man at 62 years old retired debt-free with enough saved to take care of himself and leave something for the people he loved. Nobody gave him that. Nobody handed it to him. He built it brick by brick, day by day, tired day after tired day. And when people asked him his secret, he said something that I want you to write down if you can. He said, I never asked myself if I felt like it. I only asked myself if it mattered. Do you hear that? He never asked himself if he felt like it. He only asked himself if it mattered. That is the question that changes everything. Not am I motivated? Not am I rested? Not is this the perfect time? The only question that matters is, does this matter? And if the answer is yes, then you get up, you show up, you do the work. Now, I also want to address something that I think NK is deeply misunderstood in the conversation about discipline and hard work. Because I know there are people watching this who are going to say, but Steve, what about balance? What about self-care? What about rest? And I want to be very clear. I am not against rest. I am not against taking care of yourself. In fact, I believe that strategic rest is a weapon. I believe that a person who knows how to rest is a person who can sustain the journey far longer than someone who burns hot and burns out. But here is the key word, strategic. There is a profound difference between rest that recharges you and avoidance that deceives you. Rest that recharges you looks like sleep that you have earned, recovery that feeds your next effort, silence that fills you back up so you can pour out again. Avoidance that deceives you looks like Netflix when you should be working. It looks like scrolling for 2 hours when you have a goal sitting unfinished. It looks like telling yourself you need a break when what you really need is courage, and only you know the difference. Only you know in that private, honest place inside yourself whether you are resting or hiding, whether you are recovering or are the treating. And the most powerful thing you can do is be honest about it, not to anyone else, just to yourself. Look yourself in the mirror and say, what am I really doing right now? Am I filling up so I can go again? Or am I running away from the thing I said I wanted? That kind of honesty is rare. And that kind of honesty is the foundation of every life that ever got built from the ground up. I also want to talk about the people around you, because tired is contagious, and so is energy. And the environment you spend most of your time in will determine, more than almost anything else, what kind of person you become and whether you are able to keep pushing when the road gets hard. If you are surrounded by people who complain constantly, people who are always talking about what is wrong, who is to blame, why things can't work, then you will absorb that. You will start to see the world through that lens. And when you get tired, their voices will be the loudest ones in your head telling you to quit. But if you are surrounded by people who push, people who are building something, who are growing, who are honest about the struggle but refuse to be defined by it, then when you are to your lowest, their energy becomes a lifeline. Their example becomes a reminder. Their presence in your life becomes proof that it is possible. You need to audit your environment. This is not about being harsh or cutting people off carelessly. This is about understanding that your energy is precious and that who you give it to and what you allow in your space has a direct impact on your ability to execute when you are running on empty. Because here's the reality. You will be tired. There is no version of a meaningful life that does not involve periods of deep exhaustion. Every entrepreneur has been there. Every great athlete has been there. Every parent who raised a good child has been there. Every person who ever built anything worth building has sat in the dark and wondered if they had enough left to keep going. The question is never whether you will get tired. The question is what you will do when you are. And the answer that separates the people who make it from the people who don't, is not some superhuman burst of energy. It is not a sudden wave of motivation. It is a simple, quiet, powerful decision to show up one more time, to take one more step, to make the more call, to write one more page, to do one more thing, however small, that moves you in the direction of the life you said you wanted. That is the discipline of showing up. And it is available to every single one of you right now, exactly as you are, tired and all. Because here is what I need you to understand before we go deeper. The life you want is not waiting for the version of you that is never tired. That version does not exist. The life you want is waiting for the version of you that keeps moving in spite of the tired. That version, that is who you are becoming. That is who you are right now, in this moment, choosing to listen, choosing to grow. Choosing to believe that there is more in you than the exhaustion has told you. And I believe it. I believe it for you. Not because I know you personally, but because I know what I have seen. I have seen people start with nothing. I have seen people start over from zero. I have seen people who had every reason to give up find one reason to keep going and ride that one reason all the way to a life they could not have imagined. You are that person. You have always been that person. Now let us keep going.